Dear students, I had told you that I'll be doing another video where we'll be discussing that how basically this amazing nervous system in our body works. What is the mechanism? We have learned about its different parts, uh, what are the parts which are actually working, but how is it working, that we haven't yet discussed. So today's video will be discussing about that. As you can see already on my screen, there is a picture. Now this picture is basically, it's showing how an impulse, a nerve impulse, is transmitted through a nerve fiber. Now when we use the term nerve fiber, we actually mean axon. Nerve fiber means axon. So how a nerve impulse is conducted through axon, that we are going to discuss. So what happens is, we should remember one thing, that suppose this is the axon, okay? Now if this is the axon, in the very beginning, in the initial videos of nervous system, I had discussed the structure of neuron. And there I had told you that within the axon there is a fluid which is called axoplasm. So let us assume this part where I am moving the cursor, this is the axoplasm. Now outside the axon, suppose here, what should be present outside the axon, outside a nerve fiber? Should there be a empty space? Definitely not. Nerve fiber is a cell. So outside an animal cell, there will be intercellular space. Intercellular spaces are filled with matrix, which in some cases we call them tissue fluid. Sometimes in a generalized way, we call them extracellular fluid. So this place over here, this is the extracellular fluid. Okay? Now, a nerve fiber, it responds to a stimulus. That stimulus can be any change in the environment. Environment means it can be external environment, it can be internal environment. External means outside the body. Stimulus coming from outside the body. Like suppose the weather is very hot, the temperature is very high, so we are feeling uncomfortable. So heat is the stimulus. It's an external stimulus because it is outside our body. Now suppose I am feeling thirsty. I am speaking for a long time, so I am feeling thirsty. So thirst will be my internal stimulus. So any kind of change in the environment, be it external or internal, that change will be called stimulus, provided it is able to evoke a response in the body. I am thirsty, what should I do? I should drink some water. That is my response. So a stimulus should be able to evoke a response. How this stimulus response coordination is maintained, for that we need to understand this. And what is this? So basically, when there is no stimulus, we can assume that a nerve fiber is at rest. When there is no stimulus, we can assume that a nerve fiber is at rest. Then the nerve fiber will be said to be in polarized condition. Now when a nerve fiber is in polarized condition, you see the picture, already here the depolarization has been shown, but in polarized condition what happens? See this part. The inside of the nerve membrane beneath the cytoplasm. Inside remains negative, outside remains positive, which means a potential difference exists between the two sides of nerve cell membrane, between the two sides of axolemma. Now why? That is because of two reasons. There are two reasons behind this. One is the axolemma, which is the membrane, it is basically impermeable to, or it is very less permeable to sodium ions, and it is highly permeable to potassium ions. So as a result, what happens when a nerve fiber is at rest? What happens is more sodium ions from inside the membrane diffuses out. I should not use the word diffuse, it goes out, I would say. Why not diffuse? I'll tell you. And potassium ions from outside come in. What did I say? Sodium ions from inside goes out. Potassium ions from outside comes in. What is the ratio? For every 3 sodium ions, 2 potassium ions will be exchanged. Which means if 3 sodium ions are going out, in exchange 2 potassium ions are coming in. So this is happening when the nerve fiber is in polarized condition, which means at rest, when there is no stimulus. Now, this thing is happening against concentration gradient, and that is why it requires a pump. I should inform you that the extracellular fluid has 10 times more sodium ions than inside the membrane. And inside the axon, more potassium ions are present than outside. So when the nerve fiber is at rest, if sodium ions are going out, it must be going out against the gradient. And potassium ions coming in, it must be coming in against the gradient. Now, whenever there is movement of ions against the gradient, what do we call that process? We call it active transport, which means it requires energy. Same thing is applicable here. Sodium ions going out, potassium ions coming in will require energy, will require breakdown of ATP. So ATPase enzyme is located in the nerve membrane, which breaks down ATP, releases energy. With the help of energy, the exchange is taking place. And since 3 sodium ions going out and in comparison only 2 potassium ions coming out, so that creates the negative environment inside. Okay, not only that, inside the nerve membrane, there are many negatively charged organic ions. Negatively charged organic ions are there inside the nerve membrane. So these two factors together contribute to the negative environment inside the nerve membrane and positive environment outside the nerve membrane. When the nerve fiber is at rest, which means polarized condition. Now what happens when a stimulus comes? A stimulus, when it comes and it attacks the nerve fiber, the polarity is reversed. So here see this part of the nerve fiber. See, the inside has become positive and outside has become negative. Why? Because when a stimulus arrives, permeability for sodium ions of this nerve fiber, of the nerve cell membrane, increases. So now sodium ions can come in and potassium ions will now go out. So the reverse thing is happening. When the stimulus is arriving at this particular point, what is happening? The nerve fiber membrane, it's becoming more permeable to sodium ions. So you see there is an influx of sodium ions. So 3 sodium ions are coming in. In exchange, 2 potassium ions will go out. Okay? And that creates a positive environment over or within the nerve membrane and a negative environment outside. And then we say that the nerve fiber is depolarized. Now let me tell you one thing. When the nerve fiber was polarized, I told you there is a potential difference existing. The value of that potential difference is, the generalized value is minus 70 millivolt. Now this value, it varies from cell to cell, from organ to organ, from one body part to another. It can become minus 90 millivolt in certain cases, minus 85 millivolt in certain cases, but generally minus 70 millivolt as a standard value we take. Now when depolarization takes place, then what happens? Depolarization takes place then from minus 70 the value increases. It becomes minus 50, then minus 40. A time will come when it will become 0. Now when it is becoming 0, then actually the influx of sodium ions becomes higher. And the efflux means going out, efflux of potassium ions becomes higher. So now the value will increase, it will go towards the positive side more and more. From 0 it will become plus 20 millivolt, plus 35 millivolt. A time will come when it will reach about plus 65 millivolt. Now when it reaches such a high positive value, we say that the nerve fiber has acquired action potential. Action potential plus 65 millivolt. Okay? Now when this happens, then what happens? This has happened because due to the influx of sodium ions within and efflux of potassium ions from the nerve membrane. Now this creates too much of positive ions within the membrane and too much of negative ions outside the membrane. Now the time has come that it should come back to its original condition. So now what will happen? Again reversal of polarity will take place. So from the value of plus 65, slowly the value will decrease. Why? Because the reverse thing will start to happen now. Now the sodium ions which came in will now again move out. Okay, they will start moving out. And potassium ions which went out will again start coming in. So it is coming back to its original condition. So when this thing starts from plus 65 millivolt, when this returning back to the normal position, when it starts, we call it negative after potential. Okay, so it is starting to come back to its normal condition. When much of the sodium ions have moved out and much of the potassium ions have come in, and the inside of the membrane again is becoming negative. From 0 the value is now coming down, -20, -30, slowly it's coming down, -60, now it will be -70, -80, then we call it the positive after potential. Okay? Positive after potential, because now the rate of dropping, I mean the potential difference is dropping, and the rate, the speed is much faster, so we call it positive after potential. So from positive value, when it is slowly coming down, there is a slow decline, we call it negative after potential. When the negative value, when sufficiently the internal environment of axon has become negative, we call it positive after potential. Ultimately, what will happen? The nerve fiber will come back to its original condition. Again, inside will become negative, outside will become positive, and that condition will be called repolarization. Repolarization. Okay, and the value again becomes -70 millivolt. So basically there are 3 steps of nerve impulse transmission. Polarization or polarized state, when the nerve fiber is at rest. Now stimulus comes. The nerve fiber gets agitated. Potential difference starts becoming positive, the value. We call it depolarized. We say that the nerve fiber has acquired action potential. Third stage, repolarization, when again from the positive value, the value is coming down. First slowly and then at a rapid rate. Then we say that the nerve fiber is coming back to its normal condition, which is called repolarization. Okay, so these are the 3 stages of nerve impulse transmission. Now for our exam purpose, we need to memorize the values, okay, and we need to memorize the terms, we need to memorize the events. If the concept is clear, students, it will not be difficult for you to represent it in the form of an answer. Now this entire process, I must tell you, the entire nerve fiber is not depolarized at once. It takes place part by part. Like, see in this picture, this part of the nerve fiber has been depolarized, not the entire fiber. Okay? Now when this part is depolarized, I may say that the next part, which is this, is in a resting condition, is in a polarized condition. Now what will happen? This depolarized part of the nerve fiber will actually act as a battery. As a battery, so that the next part of the nerve fiber gets stimulated. Okay? Again, when this part will be stimulated or when this part will be depolarized, it will act as a battery for the neighboring polarized area. So in this way, the nerve impulse, it travels like a wave, and that is why the term wave of depolarization is used. Okay. Now certain terms are necessary. We need to understand certain terms. Like the stimulus which is coming, it must be having a certain strength. Okay. There should be a minimum strength. Let me tell you those terms. See over here, it's written threshold stimulus. What is that? The stimulus should be at least of a minimum strength so that it can evoke action potential. Below this stimulus, it will not be able to evoke action potential. And if the stimulus is beyond this value, suppose a very high stimulus, high strength stimulus is given, doesn't mean that the action potential will also be very high. No. Minimum value is required to evoke action potential, and beyond that value, no matter how long, how strong stimulus I give, effect will be same. So this is called all or none principle. Okay. Now refractory period, which means a certain part of the nerve fiber is depolarized. Now that will involve release of neurotransmitter. Now when it is depolarized, it is not ready to receive another stimulus and respond to another stimulus. It needs a time. Depolarization will be completed, then another stimulus will come, then it can respond. So that time lag that the neuron requires to be ready for to respond to a second stimulus, that time lag is actually called the refractory period. Okay, so these terms are important. Another term is synaptic delay. Synaptic delay means from one neuron, when the impulse goes to another neuron, then what happens? Neurotransmitters are released. Now these neurotransmitters, they are released. They will be released from one neuron, they will go to another neuron, will excite that neuron. So this takes time. So this particular time gap is called synaptic delay. So time taken in releasing neurotransmitter and in stimulating the next neuron. This is called synaptic delay. And saltatory conduction, it is mainly related to myelinated nerve fibers. In case of myelinated neurons, what happens? The depolarization takes place only at the nodes, because most part of the nerve fiber is covered by myelin sheath. Myelin sheath doesn't allow depolarization. This ionic exchange is not allowed. So only at the nodes the depolarization takes place. So such a conduction of nerve impulse, which takes place only at the nodes, is called saltatory conduction. Why such a name? Because it comes from the word saltare. Saltare means to leap, to jump. From one node to the next, as if it's jumping. So that's why the name saltatory conduction. So these terms are important, students. Go through the video. A very important part of the chapter has been discussed. Go through the video. If not once, if you cannot understand it, at once, then go through it repeatedly. I'm sure you will be able to understand. If you have any problem, any doubt, write in the comment section. Okay, we'll again meet in the next video. Till then, goodbye.